Hi, this is the Price Action Analyst. Welcome back. Just wanted to do another video on some cryptocurrencies that I'm looking at. Before I get into the ones I'm looking at, I just wanted to have a look at, this is the chart for Monero. So Monero is a relatively established altcoin, if you like. I do like Monero because I like the privacy feature that Monero, it's Monero's main selling point. But I just wanted to point out, this is sort of the typical price action of most coins. They had early higher prices, which have gradually descended over their life. And most of them are flat or consolidating. Monero, it's consolidating here, but if we get, a pop on the upside of that trend line and we get a volume spike, then I think you could conclude that Monero is breaking out of that consolidation. And depending on what the breakout looks like, it might be viable, and you might be able to conclude that it's the start of an uptrend. But until I see that happen, I'm not really interested in accumulating more Monero. So I'm just going to go through some charts of some altcoins, and these are nowhere near as established as Monero, but I like the price action. But again, these charts are always the altcoin in terms of Bitcoin. I'm not really interested in the price action relative to the US dollar, because everything's going up in relation to the US dollar, because the US dollar is falling in value as the government continues to print. This is OMG. So as you can see, the early price action was the same as all the other coins. It started off with a relatively higher value relative to Bitcoin. And again, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, Bitcoin's value has gone to 19,000, it's gone back to 3, but all the price action's similar. It was high, then it's fallen off, right off, and consolidated. And so what you can see when you zoom in here is something has changed. You could say, there was a long consolidation here, but you have a breakout on high volume. And so that interests me. That price action interests me. This price action is indicative that for whatever reason, people are now buying this coin. And when you have a liquid market, it doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't matter if we're talking about cryptocurrency or stocks or oil futures or whatever. The price action is generally the same because the human psychology behind it is the same. So when you get a spike upwards like this, you get, exhaustion, and that's indicative of the wicks. If you were very short-term trading, if this was oil futures, for example, you could short this wick. When it makes this wick here, you could short within that wick, and there's an opportunity to make money. You are counter trend, which is not ideal, but price, when you get that wick, you get selling pressure. What you generally get when price moves up like that, though, is you'll get a retracement, normally to around 50% of the run-up. So around this area here, which also coincides with this previous high. And none of this is exact, but these are levels that I would be watching. And I'm looking for an entry point on this retracement. So, prices come down, you got a spike in buying, it's coming back down. So anywhere at this low or just below or here, if I get substantial buying pressure, so substantial buying pressure is, when you get a selling candle like that, and then the candle next to it is this one. So the buying candle, the subsequent buying candle is greater than the previous selling candle. That's substantial buying pressure. So if I start to see that down here, ideally, that's where I would maybe enter a trade. If price never gets here and you get, say, the next day you get a really large buying candle here that closes at its high, you could consider buying there as well. But while I'm watching the price action, I'm hoping it gets down here, and then when it does, I'm waiting for buying pressure. So I like the price action in that chart. You're not at an ideal buying situation yet, but I think that that one's very close. So that's OMG. This is ZRX. So let me have a look here. So that's Oxcoin, ZRX. This is a relatively similar chart to the previous one. Again, most of the coins are like this. You get this early high value relative to Bitcoin, and then it's all dropped off. Consolidated. You see the difference here between this breakout. I mean, this was something that would interest me. You've got a volume spike. But now that you've got this, I mean, look at the difference in volume level. So, you know, someone or a group of people are now interested in this coin for whatever reason, and they're buying it, and its value is going up in relative to Bitcoin. So again, the same things apply. You've got that upward pressure. You've got the wicks. If you'd have shorted in that wicks and held, you've got an opportunity for price movement in your favor. And we're in a downward pennant right now, and so I would be keeping my eye on these levels, these previous highs. At each of these highs, you know, you get people that are stuck. You get people that are sold here, they're losing money, and when the price comes back, you get buying pressure. So look what happens when price comes back to this level. Big upward candle. Price comes back down to this level, you got buying pressure there. So I'm looking for, you know, anywhere here. If I get, especially you've got this downward trend line too, if I get any substantial buying here, even that, I mean, that could have been a trigger to buy. But you know, if I could get something more convincing around this area here, then I'm in. And so generally what'll happen is you'll get a second leg at least. And that second leg, when it happens, or if it happens, it's going to come up and test this area, and you're going to see more selling pressure here. But depending on what happens there, it'll be indicative of whether it's going to come back down or it's going to stair step and move up. So I like that. That's Oxcoin. I like that price movement as well. Here's a more established coin that I like. This is Ethereum. And a lot of these coins I'm going to look at, like REN and TFUEL, are, I don't know what the right name for it is, but they're the DApps or something that work off the Ethereum cryptography. So when you go into the Ethereum wallet, you can purchase things like REN and TFUEL. But Ethereum has been around for a long time, and it's probably the main competitor to Bitcoin. It's the, you know, the second most established cryptocurrency. And again, the price action is still the same with this coin. It was high and it's come off and it's consolidated. And I do already have Ethereum, but I've tried to hold it because I like what's happening here. So again, downward trend, strong breakout relative to this price action. This was a strong breakout. Price is retraced back to this air. When it's got to this air, what did you see? You saw buying pressure. Here's more air. Price went up when it retraced. What did you see at this air? You saw buying pressure. Pivot wash, more buying pressure. So now it's back at the upward trend line for the third time. You've got strong upward momentum. You got weak downward pressure, and it's pushing against this trend line. So the high probability event here is you get this congested price action, and then you get a breakout. So that breakout should at least test this previous high, and then based on this consolidation, I expect this to go higher. So I like what's happening with Ethereum. If you didn't own it here, if you bought it here, you know, you might not be the exact low, but I can't see it retracing much lower than this area here. But I mean, I actually think that you're in the next week or two, you're going to get price action moving out of here. So this is REN. This is something that lives off the Ethereum. I don't know if you call them dApps. I'm not sure if that's the right name for them. But you buy this through the Ethereum wallet. This coin is, excuse me, this is one of the only coins I've seen that kind of, you know, didn't have really high initial values. Its history's not very long. It's only been going since 2019. But you had a spike up, down, and then this is it's kind of been an uptrend here. And so, you know, it's not moving that fast, but you've got levels here, you got a breakout, it's kind of retesting. So, you know, I would expect price to move back up here. It's just, it's going to be fighting this trend line when it's gone here. But REN has been, albeit slowly, it's been appreciating relative to Bitcoin. So that was something that caught my eye. This is ZIL, Ziliqua, I think you pronounce it. Same story as all the rest. Down, long consolidation. But look at the volume on the breakout. So, you know, people are interested in this coin. And this is what I was saying with the other coins. You can see it here in the breakout. You will generally always get, here's the breakout. You'll get a second leg. So this one is strong. You've got a third leg, fourth leg. And now this price action is very strong because on these legs, I mean, look at how far that retraced. That was, you know, over 50% retracement. That was about a 50% retracement. So when I say 50%, I'm talking about that upside. It came back almost halfway. Here it wasn't. So on this one, you've had 2 days down of price action, and then the buyers have hopped in here. And so that price action looks very strong. You could wait till tomorrow to see, but like if tomorrow's price action opens up here, you could use that as an entry point. There's nothing wrong with that. Like that to me is very strong. You look at, you know, comparative to the weakness here, you've had an up bar and then this down bar was bigger and you had another down one here and it went, you know, 50% of this thing. Here you've had that last candle was very strong, a very small wick. You've had selling this day, but look, it left a wick there, so it sold down, and then the buyers pushed it back up. And then you had another day of selling, and the next day they've retraced that. So there's buying interest in this coin, ZIL. I really like the price action, and so, you know, you could look at that and think you're too late. I mean, also these prices in relation to Bitcoin are still, you know, very small, but you look at that and think you're too late. But if you zoom out, I mean, if this ends up being another big uptrend, you're still very early on in that process. So as if it starts to run, I would be looking at, you know, these sorts of levels. This is where you're going to get selling pressure. But again, if this is an uptrend, that selling pressure should be only temporary. I'd look at previous highs like that. So those are levels I'd be looking at if price continues to move up. The other thing that you have to decide with this, I mean, my part of my thinking with cryptocurrency is, you know, I haven't been interested in it or reading about it for too long. I just wish that I had, you know, spent a week or two reading about it, you know, 8 years ago, because when I did read about it, it struck me that this is, you know, this is like the internet in the late 90s. You know, blockchain is something that is, I think it's going to be a game changer. There, you know, and there's economists talking about it. I forget his name. There's a guy that's plugging a book on YouTube, and he predicted, you know, how the internet was going to change things, and TV and stuff like that. But he's now saying that blockchain is, it's the next big thing. So, and when you read what problems the cryptography solved, like, it struck me that the blockchain is not going away. So the point of all of that is, when I buy these coins, I'm kind of holding them for the long term. I'm not making short-term trades off of these cryptocurrencies. So if you're buying these, you need to decide, you gonna buy them at good entry points and hold them and forget about them, or are you actively trading? So if I was actively trading these coins, again, which I'm not, I'd be looking at these levels, and I'd be interested to see how strong the selling was at these levels as to whether I was going to exit and then look to re-enter or look for another coin. So the last one I want to look at today is TFUEL. Again, this is something that runs off the Ethereum network. So the parent coin of this is Theta, but it's more expensive, and the price action is identical. So I just looked at TFUEL. Same general story. Price has decreased and consolidated, and then, I mean, that's a massive volume spike. You can call this 2 stages, although barely. One up, bit of a retracement, bang. Second stage, your wicks. Look how the wicks, those large wicks are so reliable. Like, price it'll rarely make that first wick and then just rocket through that. And I've just shown you with the last 4 coins, like, every time you get a big wick like that, it's very reliable for, selling pressure. And you've seen it here. So you're down to a 50% retracement. You could probably say that there's air there. And when prices retrace that level, you've got a little bit of buying pressure. So you could wait with that one. Like, I would definitely expect that to take off at some time, but I would wait until you get, if this candle here, tomorrow I get that there, then yeah, I'm in. That's essentially what I'm looking for. So wait, that's what I would be waiting for. So the other thing that I noticed with this price action is you've got the volume spike as it's gone up. And on the downward price action, look how the volume has tapered off. That's also very bullish to me. So, you had buyers. There's not that much interest in the selling. And so generally you will get another leg. And if the leg looks like that somewhere here, and I get another spike of volume, then my expectation is that it's away. So those are just a couple of coins that I'm looking at. And the thing is, I've shown you 4 or 5 coins here with that price action. The majority of coins price action looks like that. It started off early, and regardless of the time frame, like, these are relatively short time frames, but every coin I've looked at on Binance looks like this. You've got, higher values, and they've fallen off, and the price action's basically dead. So I initially found like 20 coins out of 175 where there's interest buying, price appreciation relative to Bitcoin. So it's not common. And, I think where you find it, those are the coins. This price action is indicative that this coin might actually be something that, in 5 or 10 years is still around, because that's what everyone's trying to do while they're buying altcoins, right? They're trying to choose those altcoins that are going to appreciate in value. So for it to appreciate in value, it has to be appreciating relative to Bitcoin. So to my way of thinking, the chart is indicative of that process. Now, that doesn't narrow it down to one coin, but at least it gives you a chance of it being in the next coin when it has that run. So that's it for this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.